Alright guys, welcome back to VALORANT News. Huge matches going down yesterday around the VALORANT world. Lots of reaction, especially from FNS to what went down in the Pacific, saying that Bleeds might be misusing Ye's talent on that roster, but also TenZ saying that as far as he's concerned, if Sentinels were to qualify for Masters Madrid, as they full well still could, he does not expect NRG to be a team going along with them. Very much enjoyed your thoughts in the comments below. Hit the like button if you enjoy. Subscribe if you're new as always, I'd greatly appreciate it. This was from Heretics because they confirmed yesterday, and VCT confirmed as well, that they would be allowing an exceptional circumstance with one of their players to play play remotely, play online, which is an interesting eventuality. There has been some talk about potentially they should have mandated a substitute requirement, especially when Trex from Vitality has not been quite so lucky. We know that visa issues happen. There are various problems that Heretics are dealing with on this one, but I know that people are saying, well, here we go, right, giving Heretics another exemption. So there was some debate on it for sure. But we'll discuss the actual match they played here in a couple of seconds after we have a couple of roster things to go through. Screwface confirming that he's going to be LFT for the upcoming season, but also Moist Shopify. This was a very strange announcement, and it's really interesting what's happened to Moist Moguls, as it were, kind of before and after Shopify Rebellion have come into play, because the partnership definitely makes sense, but some of the roster decisions are rather surprising. Moist Moguls were, great team, really easy to support team last year, and going into this season, they've made some interesting decisions. There's no doubt about it. Thief was released the other week, and we thought, okay, well, if Thief's going to go, who's going to be their big replacement, right? Like, who's going to be their big name talent they're going to bring into their roster? It's got to be somebody with, some gravitas, but not really. I mean, they've decided to put their coach Odorous, who was, let's not forget, he was a pretty solid player a couple of years ago, and fair enough, but he's gone from player to being the coach, and now he's back as a player. So I just don't really understand this one. I know that people are really confused, generally speaking, by exactly why they're making this move, because, they've got a lot of talent on it, really, with Flyer and Vic and Marta and Brock, but, that team with Thief, I thought made a fair bit of sense, but they get rid of him, and instead of bringing another talent from another team, they put their coach Odorous in. It's just a very strange situation, really, as you guys can see what happens here when they played their most recent series against Oxygen, but Oxygen, a very good team. Sure, Thief had a bit of a rough time, but that change was, maybe Thief gone was not massively surprising, but definitely Odorous in is pretty surprising to most people, I guess I would say. Now, there's also been lots of reaction to the Ye reaction to the Bleed Esports elimination from the Pacific side. He talked, if you guys didn't see yesterday's video, about his vision blurring, which, I'm not a doctor, obviously, so I don't really know what's causing this. I know there's been lots of debate as to whether, if Ye was really feeling the pressure and things like that, it can have these type of consequences. So there's been talk about, sports psychology and these other things that Ye might want to have a look at. Because, were Bleeds good enough anyway to make it to Madrid? Probably not. But the way that they went out was pretty shambolic, to be fair. But Ye, it's kind of crazy, right? All of the imports from North America to EMEA or to the Pacific have, won their games so far. Or at least they've won something. Because we're going to discuss with Narrate in a second. Of course, we've seen Governor as well. Rossi as well, among others. But Ye, the most talented of them all and player of the year a couple of years ago, has been struggling, right? So FNS, of course, who played with Ye, gives his thoughts on it and just doesn't believe that Bleed are using him the right way. Maybe the meta's changed now, but, Ye on the Viper just feels wrong, and Ye's obviously, feeling the pressure deeply, at least it seems that way. Hopefully he can turn it around. I'm sure there's things that they can look for, but maybe FNS is making a bit of a pitch here to Bleed and say, look, bring me in as the IGL and pay me the bag, and I'll get you the most out of Ye.
Harsh on the coaching or the comp changes. But I strongly believe that when somebody is as skilled as Ye is, you need to put him on his most comfortable characters. And that's how you're going to get the best out of that person. I think they've realized that now, but I thought it was pretty obvious. There's no way. I'm telling you guys right now, if I have Ye on my team, he's either my Jet, my Chamber, or I don't know. Those are the only two characters I've loved. I loved having him on. Yeah, or Killjoy, sure. But that's me though, right? That's me with the mindset that I have. So I don't know what the goals of that team are as far as what their thought process was before they picking those.
So yesterday was really interesting in the EMEA side. Hypoc wasn't able to make it to the event for the start, so actually Steel came in alongside Pansy to cast the series, which was, you know, it was up and down. Okay, maybe Steel's more of an analyst than he is a caster, and maybe he was rambling a bit too much at times, but still, I thought his analysis and his insight was really great to listen to, and maybe we get more of that in the future. I thought it was nice to see. Now, we did get, during this whole situation, some pretty remarkable series. Team Heretics, given the whole, you know, the drama that we just talked about, they've made big roster changes this offseason, and we talked about Boo, we talked about Mini Boo, the talent of these guys, and they really came to play. And as Strong here says, like, if they could find 3 even smaller Boos, they will be unbelievable, because, I mean, yeah, what a result from these couple of games. We also had, I mean, this is just a ridiculous highlight here as well, from the KC versus GX game. Giant X is a weird one, right? It's basically Giant and XL, but what a 4K sprayed out this is on the Yoru. I mean, you gotta say, using Yoru in this way to hit the flank and get 4, just sensational shots. But we've got to discuss the Heretic series, of course. The big talking point really with this team here, Rienz, by the way, was playing from Turkey. That's because of the whole visa stuff, so they had to play online. Not optimal, probably for either party, but yeah, it worked out in their favor, right? This, of course, Benji Fishy's team. Former Fortnite player, been making big progress, but it was Boo and Mini Boo that, you know, that dominated the series. And this is against FUT Esports, like a team that's pretty highly rated, I'd say, in the EMEA side. CNET, of course, here as well on the Yoru and on the Neon, right? But wow, I mean, what a result. Lotus was 13-11, and then Bind was 13-10. It was a close series, but Heretics get the job done, and they advance to the second round of the bracket. The other series was, I mean, I don't know what was going on here really with, I mean, Cloud is such a good player, by the way, but man, they kind of let him down. But this is another, I mean, Giant X, like their team again on paper, Redgar, Nuki, Hoodie, you know, Fatinho, really solid team, but Narrate, again, it's like all of these talents come over from NA and they really deliver. I mean, he was playing all sorts of agents this series. We are seeing more Gecko, by the way. That's definitely been noted so far since I think the recent changes. Sky's still there, but Gecko has been coming into play. But, you know, 13-11 on the split. They lost the Sunset 13-10, but won the Lotus 13-4. Pretty dominant, to be honest. Narrate and Magnum took over this final map of the series. So, you know, Narrate Tamasi, that controversial change that KC made, it's working out for them so far, right? KC, so, you know, massively underperformed last year, right? There's no doubt about it. But in that Group A, I don't think a FUT Esports versus Giant X round 1 elimination game would have necessarily been on the cards. But Heretics and KC, they move on to the winner side. Today's games, of course, Na'Vi, BPL, Liquid, Movistar. So, you know, you'd think that Na'Vi and Liquid would come out on top there. And actually, there's also Team Vitality, Gentle Mate, which will be pretty interesting to see because the winner of that plays Fnatic. We've also got to talk, though, about the Americas side. To Sentinels, they got the victory in the end against 100T. It was a close fought affair, and Sassy ended up getting the victory in the end to clutch up this round, and well, at least to make a nice couple of shots here, and bang, it goes down as they close out the series. But TenZ was giving his thoughts on which teams he expects to make it through to Masters Madrid. No doubt the Americas is stacked, you can see that everywhere you look, but which are the favourite teams? Right now, Lev, Loud, Sen, I mean, you know, pretty much it's all the teams from the group of death that are probably the teams favoured to make it. But of course, NRG, you might think would be in the discussion. They beat Furia pretty comfortably, but Fury then went on to lose to MIBR. So people are now saying, well, were Fury really just terrible, and are NRG not actually that good? And TenZ says here in the clip that as far as he's concerned, from what he has watched of NRG, he thinks there's some holes in their gameplay. And you never know, we might get a Sentinels NRG match at this tournament.
It's only 2 teams that are going to make it to Masters Madrid. If it's you guys, who else do you think is making it?
I would probably say, I would say either between Leviathan or Loud, I think.
Okay.
I think those are probably the 2 strongest teams in the Americas region right now. I think the rest of the teams are kind of below that level. And yeah.
Not NRG?
I think NRG, they're still like a brand new team, and I think watching some of their matches, there's definitely some gaps that other teams could take advantage of, especially if they like contacting a lot and stuff like that. They definitely have like an interesting style, but it is still good. But I think that if teams do their homework and play against them, then it could be kind of.
So I think there's a good argument to say that based on what we have seen so far in the Americas, TenZ's analysis is probably correct. That if there were to be favourites, Loud and Lev are probably the favourites, really, as it stands, both in the same group. They can both make it, of course, but it's going to be pretty tough because only one of Loud and Lev will make it out as the number 1 seed from the group, which puts them straight into the playoffs. The number 2 seed from the group, which will either be Sentinels, Loud or Lev, depending on the way that goes, they will go through the play-in, which is going to be challenging because you've got to play the number 2 seeds from the other groups, which is winnable, but it's not going to be easy by any means. So you really want to be the number 1 seed. We've discussed that at some length before, but from what we've seen from that group of death, really, even 100T were very competitive. There was some great Valorant being played in that group. Group A, for example, NRG versus Cloud9, that's coming up shortly indeed, but the NRG victory against Furia definitely has its question marks over it, and just the fact that their practice hasn't been going that well. I think we know that, well, they haven't been dominating their scrims, for example, and even as Ethan says again yesterday, if M80 was in the VCT, they'd make your favourite teams look like they didn't belong there, hands down the best and most impressive scrim partners that we have. And M80, a really good team, no doubt, and they're looking really good in practice for sure. But is this M80 being VCT top team level, or is this M80 just not being quite up to scratch, right? Because it goes both ways in a way. Like if M80 are really giving the business to NRG in scrims, does that imply that NRG are top 3, top 2 America's team? Quite possibly not. So I guess time will tell, but I will say for sure that if Sentinels do make it out of this group, and if NRG make it out of their group, as you definitely favour them to, it's not implausible at all that we get a Sentinels NRG match at some point, which would be, you know, in light of what TenZ said there, would be really interesting, right? Because clearly he believes there are things in NRG's gameplay that they can take advantage of, and I really hope that we get the chance to see whether that will be the case or not. So yeah, NRG plays C9, of course, this is coming up in a couple of days now, and then it's the big Loud Lev game to determine who's going to play Sentinels in the losers bracket, and it's GT versus EG as well, not too long from now. We also got, though, in the Pacific, another couple of games. Talon Esports went down to DRX, so they qualified through. Gotta say, DRX have been looking very impressive. Like, Foxy9 here was making some crazy plays. I know there was some debate as to whether Foxy9 was really the player that they wanted to go for, just because, you know, Flashback definitely is part of their future, but Foxy9 has always kind of been their sub player. There was thoughts as to whether they could get somebody else in instead, but yeah, it's working out for them. And then Ascent was 13-8, so both of these maps pretty comfortable in the end for DRX. Talon, though, still have a chance to qualify. We'll discuss that here in just a couple of seconds, but also Gen.G RRQ. Gotta feel bad really for RRQ here, because I wasn't expecting like that much, I'd say, from this team going into the season, but Jemkins looked really good, and there's an argument to say that if RRQ were in another group here, they might well have qualified, because there was a very solid level of Valorant played in this series. Of course, this is the group with Paper X and Gen.G, so I think RRQ were kind of hard done by, but at the same time, you know, you've got to be top 2 to make it to Madrid, and they were clearly 3rd best in their group, so, you know, you were never going to make it regardless. But you've got to say, Texture, Meteor, these guys on Gen.G they've put together, it's been very impressive. They won the 13-7 game one, but then RRQ won Gen.G's pick before the Icebox was a really close fought affair, 13-11 in the end. So Gen.G advanced through, but they'll have to do more if they want to qualify through for the Masters Madrid tournament, and we see this is how things are going in the Pacific so far. So Team 1 have made it through. We have Zeta Global Esports, which is just about to begin after we get the results between Talent and Team Secret. Now, I've got to say, Team Secret did not impress me at all in the first couple of series that they played, and Talent beat them 2-0 the very first time, so you would expect that probably Talent would get the victory done again, but so far they're down 1-0, and it's, well, as it stands, 7-6 to Talent on the Ascent. Now, to be fair, the Breeze was 13-8 on Secret's pick, but yeah, maybe game 2, and actually Borkham dropped here 24 for the dub, so we'll see if the Ascent is a different story, and if Talent get the win, I'm probably still going to lean their way for the final map of the series, but you know, by the time this goes live, this video, they might already be eliminated for the tournament. So very much into your thoughts on all this stuff in the comment section below. Hit the like button if you enjoyed, subscribe if you're new, take care, and I'll see you next time.